He got a middle, just right caught. A hook shot at 12. Good! The Lakers take the lead. A Magic Johnson 20. Skyhook.
And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers. Nope, not Lakers Lounge. This is the Hook. This is your favorite day of the week. I'm Anthony Irwin. I have too many of these shows. Maybe I should just consolidate and say they're all the Lounge. I am joined on this fine Friday afternoon, as I always am every other Friday, by Pete Zayas, he of Laker Film Room. Pete, how you holding up, bud? You
doing what?
One more game.
One more game. We might actually see our guys tonight. It's possible we see our guys.
Wait, that's a thing? Like they were allowed to do
together
this?
at the same time, yeah.
Huh. I didn't know that was an option. It's so bad. It's reached a point here where, and we're going to talk about this over the course of the show, but I saw somebody covering the Celtics tweet out that, I think it was Jay, tweet out that the Celtics had a hard practice after a game to simulate a back-to-back. And I was like, huh, how about that?
Yeah.
That's a thing.
I do have this, and this might be just the old man in me, but I
totally. I've been old man yells at cloud this whole
I'm trying not to. Yeah. We'll see if it works, right? And Missoula's a little insane, so you got to factor that in. But yeah. I do agree fundamentally with you don't have to treat everybody with kid gloves. I understand it, right? Obviously, we want our guys to be healthy. I want to see the strategy actually pay off come playoff time before I genuinely believe in it. But I actually think you become a great basketball team by playing great basketball together as often as possible and challenging yourself physically and all that. And the Lakers, their approach to this training camp and preseason was much, much, much more geared toward player health, which is a noble endeavor, right? I don't want to act like that's not important, but we'll see. We'll see if that pays off long term. But one thing we do know is that they didn't get a ton of reps over the course of this preseason.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that in a little bit. We're going to preview tonight's final preseason game, the game that the Lakers are considering their dress rehearsal, where according to people, according to JJ, this has been the plan, that they want this to be their final reps game. They're going to treat it like a regular game. They'll have a few days on the other side of it to recover and get ready for Tuesday night's opening night and all of that good stuff. So we'll talk about what we'll be looking for tonight. Since the last time you and I spoke, Pete, we found out that LeBron first was not going to be participating in any of these preseason games at all. He hasn't spoken, which has been kind of weird. After any of these practices for all of training camp. So that's been out of the ordinary. But we then came to find out too, that he is going to miss the first couple weeks of the season with sciatica on his right side. So we'll talk a little bit about how we think the Lakers will handle his absence and what to make of that entire situation. And then I want to wrap up training camp with some kind of macro level thoughts and look ahead to the season ahead and ask the question of, have our expectations for the season changed based on how things went in this training camp? So obviously a lot to get to. And at the end of the show, if I have any time, or if there is time, or Pete and I both have time, we'll answer some questions as well and send you off into the weekend with that, or on that note. But yeah, let's talk about this dress rehearsal and some of the things that we're going to be looking for. I thought we got a bit of a morsel, an appetizer of Luka Austin sets in that first game that they played together. Mm-hmm. That was kind of exciting. I think it was because of the hour that it was played and because of how training camp went that I just didn't really recognize it or care, because it's been such a small amount of it. But we did get a preview of those sets and what they might look like. And that tells me that it is something that they're going to be working on over the course of the season. So I was excited about that. I'm excited to see Luka and Austin surrounded by the wings that they kind of need to be surrounded by. I'm excited to see those wings operate with the engines and rudder that they need offensively. I'm glad that they're going to be piecing those puzzle pieces together. What kinds of things are you looking forward to tonight?
Yeah, I want to see a level of tempo and fast break. That's been so much of the topic, right? As Reddick's talked about being better in transition, being better in
On both sides,
on both sides
running
of the
and
floor.
also running back. Yeah.
And that is something that if LeBron's going to be out for a little while, and we'll see who the starters are, but let's say it's Vando and Rui at the forward spots. Those are two guys who like to run, who are good at running. That Vando especially, that's his thing. He's good at running. He likes to do it, and he can do it all the time. And so certain level of let's grab this rebound and run. That's part of the reason why Gabe got off to the crazy start that he got to. Is the first couple of those were transition threes, or like 2 out of the first 3 were Vando grabs it, dribbles up court. Oh, Gabe, drop it off to you. Let's pull up from 28. And God, that was fun. That was so hilarious. And so, yeah, just like a level of tempo there. Who starts? I can't wait to see what the Luka only group is, what the Austin only group is. Is with Austin in those minutes? I think he should be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is the first. We've speculated so much about lineups and rotations and things like that. That obviously a big piece is missing in LeBron, but we'll get our first glimpses at some things really for the first time, just with everybody or just about being available.
Yeah, the Vando thing kind of reminded me a little of Ramon Sessions. Remember when they brought him in and the team that he was brought into was like old and slow and stuff. And at one point, Ron Artest literally said, like, hey, Ramon, you're going to need to slow down.
Dial it back, bro.
Yeah. And I was like, well, you guys could speed up. Like, there are free points out there. That's an option. And that was kind of how I felt watching Vando, where he would grab and go and nobody was going with him. So he was just kind of like, he would get out ahead of everybody and he'd be like, really? Nobody?
It's one of the worst habits of this team, man. And yeah, that might be how it ends up working out. That's why I want to see it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is that, like, to the point that we kind of started the show on somewhat accidentally is how, like, and JJ has said it. That's what's been so, like, that to me, Pete, is what's been frustrating about this training camp is the disconnect between the quotes that we get from these practices and games and stuff like that and their actions. And so one of JJ's quotes was how, like, habits are this thing that you do. Habits aren't a thing that you speak into existence. And it's like, yeah, I know. Like, yes. And so when they're saying how we want to get out and run more, we want to be a more athletic team, that we feel like we have the horses to be a little bit more athletic. I don't necessarily see that last part so much, but like, when you say that, and then I watch everybody kind of trot up the court all the time and trot back on, like Bronny's transition defense drives me nuts. Like, dude, you're vying for rotation. Like, you're vying for your spot. Like, why are you jogging? But like, I watch these guys just kind of meander up and down the court, and what the reason that it I think is so impactful, or them not doing it is so impactful, is because, like you said, Vando is good in transition. That's probably when he's at his cleanest, right? His impact on the half court game is mitigated by being more active in transition. Rui is actually a really good open court finisher. Austin is really good in the open court as well. Luka is one of the best outlet passers in the sport. You may not have the horses to get out and run a ton, but you do have the pieces to be a decent transition team. And that's, like you're saying, give me those reps. It won't happen if we don't see the reps.
Absolutely. Yeah. A guy like Rui is a dual threat in a lot of ways in transition, in that he can rim run. And if you're have a little guard that has back responsibility, he'll get that seal, that AD type of rim run, right? And get that bucket right there. Or he can sprint to corner, sprint to wing, knock down a transition 3 there, right? And so that's a great tool to have, that grab and go ability of Vando. As you said, Austin's superb in the open court. We just haven't had a ton of reps of all of these guys at the same time in a lot of ways. Ayton has been rebounding very well, and when you rebound, you're going to be the trailer on that. And this is the big distinction in transition offense. That's normally how a coach is going to look at, like, 2 different parts of the transition offense playbook, is if you have a rim run 5 or if you have a trailer 5. And that sort of changes what you can do relative to that. And so, yeah, no, I'm excited to see that. Anything else in this dress rehearsal tonight that is on your mind?
Yeah, I really want to know, like, you kind of hinted at it. The identity of the Luka lineups and the identity of the Austin lineups. And to me, like we were just talking about transition stuff and the AD seal, that's Jackson. That just screams Jackson to me.
Anthony, you're talking about them only without the other guy on the court?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because like they're going to have to stagger them now, right?
Yeah,
you know, and there are going to be key minutes, you know, at the beginning of the game, at the end of the game, where they're going to be playing together. But the like when it's Luka, and it's like I had a and I know I please don't take offense to this, the person who left that comment, but I had a comment yesterday or a question yesterday in the mailbag of like who will be like outline a 5-man bench unit, and I did, and it was hideous. It was a bad lineup, and it's like this team is not equipped to have bench only groups out there.
Very few teams are, by the way. This is something that vast majority of teams have one of their stars out on the court to make it work.
Yeah. And so, but you know, with what we, you know, especially with LeBron out, there are going to be Luka lineups and there are going to be Austin lineups. And to me, it starts with Jackson makes sense in a Luka lineup and Ayton makes more sense in an Austin lineup. That to me is kind of the foundation of it. And then you build out, you know, with matchups and the way that the game is flowing and all of that stuff. You fill out that from that point on. Do you agree with that as a starting point?
Completely agree with the Ayton is an Austin partner and Jackson is a Luka partner. And then that's one of the groups I'm excited about, that Luka group, because it sort of had this Luka and the Banshees, like Luka and all these defensive dogs last year, that I think it's going to be that this year, except the dogs have more skill than Trey Jemison, for example, who, respect to Trey, he's in New York now. I really appreciate what he brought to the table, but there were a lot of guys on the floor at the same time where it's like Trey and Vando, and it's like, good luck to you, Luka. Go ahead and create good offense in this environment. And I think, you know, in backcourt, you're looking at Gabe and Smart next to him, which are right up my alley in terms of Luka guards at the 1 and 2. You don't need the same conventional things you need at the 1 and 2 skill set wise when you have Luka on your team, right? Because Luka's going to be your point guard. He's going to be the guy that absorbs a lot of that. Now, if you have a second guy like Austin or Kyrie, Jalen Brunson, obviously you can compound upon that effect. But Gabe and Marcus Smart next to Luka, that you have a guy who can guard the smaller guys up to 1, 2, 3. They're both switchable. Smart can guard up a bit, but they can also space the floor credibly. Neither guy is a Vando level shooter, right? And Gabe was flat out cooking the other night. And so
he's been cooking all preseason.
He's the guy that my opinion of his fit on this year's team has gone up the most.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I'm most excited about is the team's screen setting is better than it's been in ages, and we're better as a off-ball player movement team in the preseason than we've been in ages. That if Gabe really fits into that, he's one of our best screen setters. He is probably our best shooter on the move.
Yeah,
maybe LeBron, but he plays with a certain zip to himself that on a team that is otherwise kind of slow, Gabe has brought this element of, oh yeah, you're a guard. Like you bring to the table something similar to what Austin does, just from a foot speed type of perspective, which doesn't mean that they are elite foot speed guys relative to their compatriots, although Austin is underrated in this respect, but it is a necessary component. I was cracking up the other day watching Cooper Flagg trying to chase Gabe around off screens, and it was like, this poor kid, this is not what he does for a living. He was trying his best, but yeah, like having guards and that speed component is super helpful. So yeah, Gabe is the guy I have my opinion of, and how he fits on this team has gone up the most.
I think I'm like 95% of the way to you. There's just like that nagging 5% that's like, how much of that is just him making shots?
Oh, sure. He's going to do the same thing in Brick'em, and he's such a bad finisher around the rim too. But this is part of why I like him with Luka, is that I think Luka's going to present him the highest quality type of shots. And then I think a guy like Laravia is just going to flat out eat off of it. Like that was Laravia's best game. Probably a bad rebounding crew, but that's another thing I've liked from Laravia, is that he can grab some boards. So yeah, I'm curious about that Luka group.
Laravia is huge.
That's right. He's really big for his skill set.
Like, and I love that the ball just kind of floats out of his hand. It's a really easy release, really high, easy release. Yeah, he seems like a Luka guy. But yeah, I was also like thinking about the DeAndre and Austin combination. the inclination there is going to be to just switch on Austin. And the reason that I really, really like, because there's such a difference in size, right? If it's a Luka Ayton pick and roll,
You can switch some of
they're
those.
similar
Yeah.
size.
Mhm.
But with it being an Austin Ayton pick and roll, there is such a big size difference there. And specifically the guy who's going to be guarding Austin is going to be so much smaller than the guy who's going to be guarding Ayton. And so having that, like if they do switch, having Ayton and giving him the opportunity to just take advantage of that switch and actually have somebody who can. I saw Iztok Franco was kind of talking about this in his piece today about DA, saying how he's actually the most skilled finisher statistically around the basket, based on the numbers that he was kind of crunching. And it tracks. Like he has great touch, great floater game. It's like superb, like remember when Bynum learned like his jump hooks and especially his left-handed jump hook, and it was just like, oh my God.
Left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand. It was unstoppable. Yeah. Whichever way you went. Yeah.
And I think Ayton is kind of putting himself, or has put himself, into that class of finishing ability there. So yeah, giving Austin that big target there and having those guys get their reps together is something I'm really excited about. The other thing too with the Ayton Austin group is I like that, like you can put Vando in that group, and because Ayton can be spaced out to like the elbow comfortably and knock down those mid-range jumpers, you can have Vando more in like one. I wouldn't have him specifically as the dunker spot only, but you can have him there. And it was funny the other day, there was the highlight reel that somebody put together of Lonzo, and I had somebody at me in the comments of it. It was like, I remember when Anthony said that he loves it. Lonzo plays like a Roomba because he just never stops, right? He's always setting screens, he's always kind of floating around, looking to get a hand. And that's like, if you have Ayton and Austin as your starting point, and you stretch out the defense even by a little bit by having Ayton be able to finish at the elbows as well, that gives more room for Vando to do the Roomba thing.
We just recorded the LFR pod right before hopped on
Okay.
to do this, and we talked about this a little bit.
Oh, really?
The Austin only groups, and when it made its way back to me, I said, one of my only rules for this: you can't play Vando in that.
Okay, all right. Explain why. No, I want to hear
it. I think that is the most offensively challenged we're going to be is when Luka isn't on the floor. Duh, right?
Yeah.
That you can cheat off of Vando in ways that plug up other things, and I think those defenses, or that those offenses already have enough challenges in the first place. I don't think spacing out to the free throw line is as relevant if there's another guy that you can sag off of to put another body into the paint. That means that somebody can pick up Ayton at the free throw line, and then there's still one more person in the paint that's cheating off of Vando type of thing. And so I actually see Vando as a starter that plays the first 6-7 minutes of the game, but it's sort of like that JaVale type of starter where he isn't really with either of those groups on the wraparound, either the Luka only or the Austin only. Maybe comes back like halfway through the second quarter and then doesn't close type of thing. Yeah, exactly. So I could see Vando being sort of a 3-shift player where he starts each half, takes that last shift or somewhere in that of the second quarter, and then that's that for him. And then all in between. So my ideal Austin only group is like Austin, Ayton. I'm totally with you on Ayton. I think you need a point of attack defender in there. So that's probably smart because I think Gabe Austin is too small. Although without LeBron, I think we'll see more of that because Gabe does provide some of that ball handling. And there are some teams you need to be faster against, right? Probably then Laravia Rui. Is that a 5 right there? Austin. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good crew right there. We'll see who Rui goes with in terms of the bench group as well, right? Because each starter sort of has a either with Luka or with Austin type of assignment, and then the other minutes are they're resting.
So your starting 5 is Austin, Vando, Luka, Rui, Ayton?
Yes.
Okay.
For now. Right.
And then so Smart comes in for Vando. Laravia comes in for Rui?
Probably Rui.
Or Austin even. right?
I think Gabe is Austin's backup in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I could see that. Okay, so Laravia comes in for Rui. So then that would put Rui then in the Austin lineup.
Right. And so you got Rui Ayton at the 4-5 with Austin, Laravia at the 3. You probably have enough rebounding there between Laravia and Ayton.
Yeah.
And then Austin
obviously
Smart in the backcourt.
Well, that does make it a little tricky to have Hayes line up with the Austin, or to have, I guess, if you sub Ayton out with like maybe at like the 7 to 8 minute mark of the first quarter.
No, it wouldn't be that early. I think he probably sits for 4 or 5 minutes. Like he comes out at like the 5-minute mark or so, and then you've got
I guess I
see what you're saying. Yeah. He played until
7 minutes or so.
7-8 minutes. Got it.
Yeah. And that way, when Austin comes back into the game, basically Ayton can come with him.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. We did get some news here. Shouts to the comment section for pointing this out. Wiki
Let's go.
Kleba can play, and Vando was good to go tonight as well. Vando took that knee to the thigh, which made me a little nervous. I saw that big ass bandage on his, the big, like all of the heating pads and all that on his thigh. And I was like, no, no. I do think this is kind of conspiratorial of me to think this way, but I do think Kleba is going to be a rotation player.
And like every night.
Yeah, I think so. And here's my reasoning for it. I don't know if you noticed this, but the Lakers tweeted out the image of the locker room now. Kleba is right next to Luka. He's Luka's closest friend in the NBA, right? Came over with him in the trade. Luka's fingerprints have been all over this team in the offseason, all of that stuff. Luka, we know he likes to play with a floor spacing big from time to time as well. I think Kleba's going to get a shift tonight, and he's going to get a shift tonight with Luka.
I don't think Kleba is going to get a shift tonight, but I do think that he is the team's second big, meaning that when the team wants to play 2 big lineups, it's going to be Kleba plus either Ayton or Hayes. And we were talking about this on the LFR pod as well. They've got a couple of teams around the West, especially that Houston, everyone's huge in their starting lineup. We were just talking about Dallas. Everyone's huge. You've got a lot of 2 big groups. OKC, right? You've got the Jokic problem all on its own, and then they've got other big guys as well, right? That there are going to be times where
you're talking about playing freaking Jokic with the other dude, the Viking guy who's
Valanciunas.
Yeah, Val. Yeah,
big. Are they really? Are they talking about playing both of them together?
You're talking like they repeated, like I've noted at least 2 or 3 times where they've asked Jokic about it, and he was like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Interesting. I always wonder how you cover the perimeter in that. Maybe you don't, but the Lakers are going to have to counter that in some way. Now, I think that is significantly harder without LeBron. I feel like LeBron is a great 4 against those 2 big type of lineups.
Yeah.
Because he's so strong, but he's faster than them.
Yep.
And he can rebound, right? He was an essential defensive rebounder to the team last year that without him, it's such a drop off to Rui at the 4 from a rebounder perspective. Put a body on a guy. Like Rui is strong, right? He's strong, but doesn't have the same know-how that LeBron has.
A little popcorn strength-ish.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah, in some elements for sure. So yeah, I think that's much harder. And so Kleba, I think, emerges as a potential, can be the second big on the floor type of thing. But I don't think just because he has his locker next to Luka, I think that's all that says is that's probably who Luka wants to talk to after the game more than anybody. Like if he's the homie, then that's where you're gonna put him. But I don't think Kleba's in the rotation. We'll see.
I think because of his injury issues, I think it'll be one of those things where like whenever he's healthy, they'll try to get him out on the court, because he can't stay healthy. So we'll see. But yeah, at most I see him as a 1 shift guy who, you bring in either alongside Ayton or Hayes, or if he really has it going, if he's shooting the ball well, or if the other team is small, like I could see them using him against Golden State.
Yes, exactly. Those type of squads where you still need to be able to space the floor, but
yeah. So, let's talk about LeBron. You mentioned him and his absence and stuff here, and It's weird, Pete. I think this is. I said this. I did Alan Sliwa's show last Friday when we weren't recording,
Mhm.
and I made the point that I think you could really argue of the teams that LeBron has been on, this is weirdly one of, if not the best equipped to deal with his absence. You know, it was almost like I don't think this is the case, but it almost feels like it was designed with him not like being in and out of the lineup in mind. Like, what
I
do you
mean,
think?
more big
Is that
picture,
too
bro.
far?
No, I mean, not that's too far, right? Designed with him being out of the lineup in mind.
In and
But
out, yeah. But
like long term, they're transitioning out of the LeBron era, and we're already starting the Luka era, but we're in that time in between, right? That's sort of what we signed up for. If you're going to tell everybody this is Luka's team and it's not LeBron's anymore, and LeBron's getting all this and that, it's like, okay, well then, can you function without him?
Yeah.
Because a lot of teams throughout his career have absolutely fallen apart.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're sitting here with a 0-0 record going, yeah, we can do it. What's different about us, right? Oh, that didn't work out for the other guys, but us, we'll be fine. But I still believe it. I still think that beyond LeBron, they've got a decent 10-guy rotation. I think they've got 9 that I trust. And they can be a good team, right? And that can build a foundation. My hope is that they build a foundation that LeBron is able to sit back and watch and kind of understand the team without him. And he's so skilled in so many different facets that he can watch them and be like, okay, this team needs me to shoot. It needs me to handle the ball more in the second unit, needs me to be a big man in these minutes. Luka and I can do this when we're on the court with this team, and Ayton fits in this way. That I do think there's some value in LeBron being able to sit back and watch the team and see what they are, and then add his multifaceted skill set to it. But yeah, what do you think of that? I feel a level of optimism about their capability to be, I don't know, a 45 win team pace over the course of LeBron being out, which is fine. That's a play-in team, low seed type of team that without LeBron, I think that it would be an achievable pace. Is that a level of preseason delusion, or it sounds like you're on a similar page?
No, I would feel way better about it if they had found a way to keep DFS.
For sure.
Because like you talk about the rebounding and the physicality and stuff like that, like he is exactly what they need while LeBron is out, especially defensively. I think they're really going to miss LeBron defensively while he is gone. Because offensively, like Luka's the engine anyway, right? Like LeBron was literally working on catching and shooting in the offseason.
Yep.
For a reason. Like that's what he was getting ready for. So yeah, I think they're gonna miss his and his understanding too. Like this is the thing that I really look for with offensive geniuses is that moment when they start using that genius for good on the defensive side. We've seen it with Jokic. We've seen it to a certain extent with Luka. I think that's something that he's really going to work on over the course of this season. When D'Lo was engaged last year, we even started to see it with him where he just kind of knew where to stand and gum up offenses from it was like once a month or whatever, but I saw it. I swear to God, I saw it. And I think where like LeBron, he is so good defensively because he's a DH basically at this stage of his career, but he does know at least where to stand so that if he is kind of taking a play off here and there, he'll make it harder for them to throw whatever pass he knows they need to throw to run their offense as smoothly as they can. Rui doesn't know how to do that stuff. Like Rui doesn't bring that. Doe did, right? Rui does not. And so I think that's where they'll really miss LeBron early. But yeah, as far as like offensively, like last year and over the last few years when LeBron hasn't been available, you saw the offense go to absolute shit while he was gone. I have zero concern whatsoever about the offense while he's gone. One thing that I don't think people have talked quite enough about has been actually Marcus's ability on the ball as a secondary creator. And so between Luka and Austin and Gabe and Marcus, and then you have Rui as like a safety valve offensively, and you have Ayton as somebody who can attack switches and stuff. Like the offense, I'm not concerned about at all, but I am really nervous about the defense.
With LeBron and with the assumption that Rui was going to start alongside LeBron, I had a great concern going into the season that there's going to be a couple guys every shift who are very talented offensive players that get like 1 or 2 shots tops in that shift. Because if you've got LeBron and Luka and Austin and Ayton, who's a career 16-point per game type of guy, and Rui, just however it works out, that shift, like there's just not enough shots to go around. So that is one of the things that makes this team different from previous LeBron iterations, is that they have several guys that are like, oh, I get 12, 14 shots tonight instead of my usual 8 to 10. Like this is what I do. And so, yeah, I think they're a little more equipped in that respect, but I think they're going to miss him a ton on the defensive end.
Yeah. That's where I think Vando is going to be really, really key early on, is making up for, like, that's why he needs to start, in my opinion, is because of his versatility defensively. Like, I was of the, like, when it was first announced that LeBron was out, I was like, okay, Smart's starting and he's your POA guy. But no, now I'm at the point here where it's like, give me Vando out there to be, run on infinite turbo, sub out as soon as that turbo goes empty, bring in Smart to be kind of a steadier defender and stuff. But I think Vando really needs to open games. We've seen it actually with the Brewers, right? They've opened now. It hasn't worked very well against the Dodgers or whatever, but they've started games with openers specifically to go up against Shohei, and it has kind of thrown him off his game. He's been pretty bad at the plate this series. And I think that's something that like Vando can do, where basically you throw him out there specifically to go up against the other team's best perimeter player. So I think that's what I would like to see. The other thing with LeBron being out is the Lakers were always going to kind of transition away from LeBron sets the tone of how hard they're going to play on a night by night basis. And this isn't a silver lining thing. I'm not saying that this is good that LeBron is out, but this eliminates that as a possibility.
Yeah.
Right from the get-go, their habit is going to be, all right, we're going to follow Luka's energy level tonight, period. And like, that's how that's going to go. Now it means that Luka better be ready for that responsibility. I thought that in his first preseason game, I thought that he set a tone that was way too laid back in that preseason game. So if he is going to be, that tone setter, especially on the defensive side too, do you think he's ready for that? I guess is my question.
I mean, that's what Luka's been doing for years, right?
Yeah.
This isn't Luka's first time running a team. That's part of the reason why there has been with very little pushback that, oh no, this is Luka's team now, that on a LeBron James team, right?
This isn't an AD thing where he was like trying to hand AD the keys.
Yeah.
And like, oh shoot, sorry, man.
Right. And so like, this is what Luka, that said, like Luka's never been on a dominant regular season team. Right.
Yeah.
So
I think his highest total is like 50.
Yeah. So maybe that's part of what Luka is. I haven't watched Luka on a day-to-day basis. Obviously, I know his skill set. I've watched him every year, one of the league's greatest players, but there's nothing like watching a player every single night to sort of see the tendencies and maybe that's the type of guy he is. That's one of the things, big picture, about this season, is that we're going to learn a lot. I think that being as informed as possible going into this upcoming offseason, as much as I want us to compete for a title this year, that's one of the secondary benefits, that even if you don't get there, if you really go hard this year and really go for it and try, that you'll get a lot of answers of who works and who doesn't, who should we bring back and who we shouldn't. That if you are reliant on the energy of a 40-year-old, soon to be 41-year-old LeBron James on a night-to-night basis, you're going to build inconsistent habits that ended up burning the Lakers in the playoffs as well. And that's not a knock on LeBron. That's an unfair thing to ask of a player in those circumstances. And so, I
always thought it was more of a knock on AD. Like,
interesting. Yeah, you need to be that guy that carries it on. Let LeBron have some nights where he can coast and still get you.
Yeah,
and he still gets you 25 and 7 on those nights.
It would drive me nuts that, like, on those nights where like an assistant coach once told me, he was basically like, yeah, LeBron has his get up in a defensive stance nights, and he has his point from the corner nights. And
I always love when he gets mad at somebody for, like, LeBron, you just fucked that up like 3 plays ago, and you know it. That's why the 2020 team worked. Is there were other dudes that were like, come on, man,
Yeah.
get back,
Yeah.
rotate,
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
And
that was the
LeBron gets
thing.
it too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's where I would get frustrated with AD because it was like, all right, early on, shit, you made the point. You know it in warmups, right? When LeBron is just kind of like missing layups and farting around, shooting 45 footers during warmups. It's like, okay, it's that kind of night. That's where AD needed to be like, okay, that's the kind of night that it's going to be. It's on me tonight, you know? And I never felt like AD stepped up to the extent that he needed to. He got angry when mistakes were made. But in terms of like setting a tone and being like, all right, LeBron, I got this tonight. Like that, I didn't think that happened nearly enough. But anyway, let's look back on training camp really quick and try to figure out like what I've been kind of battling with is if my expectations were unfair of a training camp where your superstar just played in Eurobasket, you have a 41-year-old LeBron. You know, it's not an old team, but it's also not a young one either, you know, like roster wide. So like what do you think? Because I did walk away kind of frustrated, disappointed by this training camp and these preseason games. I don't think we learned nearly enough about who this Lakers team is. Do you think my expectations were too high? Do you agree with that as a takeaway? Where are you at?
I agree with that as a takeaway. I do think your expectations were too high. I also had those expectations, which I think were too high. But all of that comes from we have a level of ignorance of what everybody is, where everybody's at physically coming into training camp, right? So I'm over the offseason, like, and I watched Marcus Smart play last year, right? No, he's not moving like he was in the early 2020s, but he was an effective defender. And Reddick pointed out that he's pretty much an 80th percentile defender in all of these play types across the board. So in my mind, I'm like, that dude should be starting for us. Like, he's not perfect, but he does this job that we have a vacancy at. And then even just watching him against Phoenix the other night in that first, it's like, oh yeah, he's moving a little slow.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Vando looks amazing. The best that he's looked since 2023 in terms of how he's moving. That we start out in these certain places of assumption that everybody's okay. And that's never really how it works or where they're at physically. And then what we didn't know, although we should have based on historical precedent, is the Lakers are going to handle their guys with kid gloves, especially in a preseason and training camp type of environment. That if it is sort of a should he practice today, should he sit, it's almost always going to go toward the he should sit type of place. That with your, like you were saying, the oldest player in the league, Luka, Eurobasket, guys in various physical conditions, I think across the board, they've said, we want you to get as healthy as possible individually. And if that leaves fucking RJ Davis checking into the game with 5 minutes left in the first quarter and like half of our preseason games, oh well. Right. And I like Davis, don't get me wrong. But you know what I'm saying? That they made a conscious decision that we are going to get as healthy as possible. And if we sacrifice reps as a result of that, c'est la vie. Now, do I think they're gonna pay a price for that early on? Probably.
So that was going to be my counter argument, is that, and not that like we're debating anything of this, like I'm not saying that you're wrong. This is objectively what they seem to have favored. Right. So, but like the problem to me with that approach is, one, their schedule broke in a way where they need to rack up wins early. And now with LeBron out, it like is your margin for error just diminished by quite a bit.
Yeah, if we're like 8-7 after the first 15 games, it's a tougher season going forward.
Yeah. So you have that. And then the other part of it too, and the analogy I made, Pete, was how like I don't let Avery win at stuff. We just played chess the other day. And I beat her in the games that we were playing, and I didn't embarrass her or anything like that. We still had fun, and I made sure to note like, hey, you're doing a really good job of learning the rules, right? Chess is a really tough game for a 6-year-old. But I still beat her. And the reason for it is because like when she goes out into the world, she's in chess club. When she goes back to school, the person that she's going to be playing against isn't going to let her win, right? So if I let her win here, she's going to think, I am chess master. I am Magnus, and it's like, then she's going to go back to school and she's going to she's going to have that harsh reality. And I would rather have her face reality here in this kind of, confined space. And so with the Lakers playing or utilizing their kid gloves on their guys right now, the season's going to start, and that doesn't make the season any easier. Like 82 games is still 82 games. Practices and being ready on a night by night basis, like, to me, all that like treating them with kid gloves does to them is not prepare them for the reality of an 82 game season. Not saying that JJ Redick doesn't know what an 82 game season is. I'm just saying that, like, this, to me, the risk of it is they're going to be thrown into the deep end, or they're going to be thrown into the hot water, and they won't react well to it. Is that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, they'll have to get those first reps in the first few games, right? And that was part of the very first game, right? We played Phoenix, and one of the first things Redick said in the post-game press conference was they've had more practices than us. They've had guys in the gym early on. That whole process and that whole framework doesn't go away just once you get to the regular season. We're like, oh yeah, now after a week of preseason, we're all caught up. All 30 teams are in different places right now in terms of their readiness for the season. Not talking about their talent level, right? Their talent level is independent for that. But how much is this 15 ready to go into the year and execute our schemes, be on point with what we want to do, be healthy enough to play, be physically ready to play, that if you are sacrificing that in the name of long-term health, you got to get warmed up for the season. You got to get warmed up with your teammate of all these. Half the team's new. So there's a certain level of, we were talking earlier about Austin and Ayton, and yeah, they can beat switches and all of that. Austin's thrown the post-entry passes into the front row on like 75% of those so far.
Yeah.
Now, if he's still doing that in February, I'll be very concerned, but I don't think he will be, because they will have worked on that and gotten the reps at that exact thing. But in these early games, like, basketball doesn't care. It's like, if we play a team that's ahead of us in terms of doing their shit more accurately than we do ours, they're going to beat us.
And that's where, like, you have games against Sacramento, you have games against, like, you have games that should be considered wins early on in the season. And if that team just happens to be ahead of the Lakers because of their approach to training camp, and you lose that game, now you have to make that up over the course of the season sometime. You're going to have to beat a team that you wouldn't pencil in as a win elsewhere.
Yep.
All right. Final thing before we get you out of here, Pete. Does the way that this training camp went, does this the preseason games and what you've seen from teams around the league as well, have your expectations for this team changed? I guess we should start by outlining your expectations for this team going into training camp and where they sit now.
I feel more uncertain about this team. Like, I don't feel very strong about a lot of my takes of what this team will be. You could tell me I come from the future and it was a disaster and everybody started playing for their contracts because 75% of the team is expiring and it was awful, and DeAndre Ayton stopped running back on defense in November. Right. Like, I could be like, okay, that sucks, but I could see that. Yeah. I could also, I really like the ingredients that are on the table, though. From an individual standpoint, I think several individuals in the time that they have had good preseasons. They just haven't played a whole ton. And I like how it all fits together. So I don't have a ton in the way of expectations. The biggest thing that has changed for me is what we were just talking about, is I expected us to get off to like an 11-4 type of start if we really hit the ground running to start training camp. I don't think that's and obviously LeBron's out, right? So that's the biggest factor. So I think that the level of urgency and immediacy is the biggest thing that's changed for me. How about you?
Yeah, this is one of those seasons that this is the widest spectrum of outcomes.
I like that. Yeah.
I can recall, frankly, right? Where like everything goes really, really well. The Lakers even make a push the chips into the middle of the table trade, after the season opened up well, and looky there, they won a championship. That's on one end of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum is LeBron spends this first month or so looking at the Dallas Mavericks and them reassembling the 2019-2020 Lakers. And he kind of says, like, that would be kind of fun, and pushes for a buyout. Like you said, all of the guys who are on I'm not saying that's going to play out, but I'm saying, like, that's the other end of the spectrum.
No, I get that. Sorry, I have feelings on don't buy LeBron out. Like, no. We can talk about that later. Let's hope we don't have to talk about that. God.
but yeah, like if on one end of the spectrum is championship, on the other end of the spectrum has to be, like, to even it out, has to be the worst case scenario, right? Where LeBron pushes for a buyout and all the guys start playing for their next contracts and start taking shots that don't fit within the team structure. Luka's body doesn't respond well to not having the extra poundage that, maybe he starts getting pushed around a little bit. I don't know. But like, there's one end of the spectrum, there's the other end of the spectrum. I think I'm probably closer to the side of, like, the positive side of the spectrum, like
Me too.
like if smack dab in the middle is a 46-win team that has to fight, scratch and claw through the play-in to then just get their asses kicked by the Thunder in the first round.
You think that's our middle?
I would say so. Yeah.
Really? I think we're a good amount better than that. We were the 3 seed last year. Are we worse than last year?
No,
We won 50 games.
But I think the season went pretty well. They added Luka in the middle of the season. So,
right. And we started Jackson Hayes.
Yeah, well, but like, I would say that, like, yeah, I would say middle. I'm saying, I think the likeliest
You just described an 8
outcome,
seed that gets their ass kicked in the first round by OKC. That's a 7 or 8 seed.
But I'm saying, like, the likelier, like, my likelier, like, where I think I land here. I guess it's a semantics thing, because I'm saying the likeliest scenario to me is a 50-ish win team that, like, I guess to me, my biggest concern, Pete, is LeBron's back,
Okay.
and like, sciatica, the number of people who have reached out to me about sciatica and about their experiences with sciatica. I don't know if you've had this, like, if you've experienced.
I know people. I have not had it. No, I also don't think our experience is particularly relevant to LeBron James, but we'll see.
No, I know. I'm just saying that, like, the number of people who were like, it did this to me. It did this to me. It put me in the hospital. It did, like, it's just wild. Like,
Okay.
everybody who, like, I haven't met a single person who had sciatica and was like, I've had worse.
Sure.
Like, I haven't and you're right that, like, LeBron is this medical marvel, or he has been to this point. But like, just ask Steve Nash what core issues did to his career,
Sure.
And Larry Bird, what back and core issues did to his career,
So if LeBron has an injury ravaged season, of course that changes the projection of all of that. So yeah,
that's why, I'm nervous about this.
Okay, but the team that's like an 8 seed out of that's a LeBron injury ravaged type of season. You think that's like a median outcome?
Yeah.
That sounds to me like bottom 25%.
Really?
LeBron's always been ready to play. I know he's missing the first part of this season. He wasn't very good the first 20 games of last season. So there's part of this. It's like, hey man, if you're going to go like that, then sit out. Wait, we'll build something without you until you're ready. But I have, like, LeBron to me is the most, I trust him to be ready physically more than just about anybody. Now, is the adductor stuff, is this just father time catching up, and it is all those core issues? And is this the year for that to happen? I could see that, but I'm not going to count on that as like a median. If you did this 100 times, this is the cluster in the middle type of season for the Lakers quite yet. He's always been pretty ready physically.
Yeah. Well, like, I'm also factoring in, I don't think Marcus Smart is quite as good as I thought he was going to be, heading into, like, at the time of the signing. I was really excited about it. Now, having seen the one game from him and hearing about the heel tendinopathy already and stuff, it's like, okay, all right, I think I got to scale back my expectations for him. And they don't have a whole bunch of point of attack defenders to make up for him not being 100% at times. So
no doubt
that makes me a little nervous. Like, look, there are things that can mitigate against this stuff. Like, I do think that you can find a point of attack defender who probably takes something else off of the table, but just to help with if Marcus isn't good to go.
I feel like that's what Vando is. Like, in a lot of ways, I know we've talked about starting Vando. I think Vando's if we want to win a championship, I don't think Vando can start for us.
Yeah.
I think he's the placeholder for the player who does that job that can also be a competent offensive player. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So your likeliest scenario then is like 6 seed? would you say?
The seeding there, it's such a cluster at that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You can be a 50-win team and be a 3 seed, and be a 49-win team and be a 6 seed. So it's less about seeding for me. It's more about that 50-win mark. I absolutely think they can get right back there, provided that LeBron doesn't have like a super extended or
Well,
we
their
are
over
hammered
under
by
is
injuries.
47.5. You're going
Yeah,
over?
and that dropped. That dropped. It was 49.5
LeBron.
a couple of days before LeBron, and I think, yeah, I think around that 49-50 type of number is right on for even under current circumstances with LeBron. I think this is a good team. I don't think it's a championship team, but yeah, I think this is a better team than it was last year.
Do you think it's good enough? Like, do you think this team winds up good enough when we get to January, when we get to February, for the Lakers to put that one first-round pick on the table?
Yes.
That to me is the question of the season. Like
Yes.
that to me is the number one question, and that, like, the answer to that question is going to dictate the type of, like, when we look back at the season, what they accomplished.
That's always going to be followed by, well, for who, you know? And so for the right guy, I think they'll be good enough, health willing, right? If it's a ravaged season and if we've got a couple guys out for the year or something like that, and February rolls around, I could see them standing pat and just, we'll get them next year and we'll actually execute on the plan of just lining things up for this summer. But yeah, I do think that for the right guy, and we can talk a lot about that. There are 4 guys that come to mind of that starting 2 guard. It's, Drew Holiday, KCP, Dylan Brooks, and Andrew Wiggins are the 4 starting caliber wing defenders that might be available by trade, that I view, at least at this point. That now, what do you give up? Do you give up Rui? Do you give up Rui and a first for that? Right? Kind of what the deals are.
I wouldn't give up a first for Drew Holiday. Yeah,
with the contract and all of that, right? Yeah. These are all conversations to be had, but I think that theoretically speaking, if the right guy were available, I do think the Lakers would trade their first. Pelinka came out and said it. Not that necessarily means that.
I mean,
but I think that's true. I think that's true.
I had one more question for. Oh no, I was going to just note this on the next season front, and I know you got to go, but this came and went extremely quietly, and I wanted to pick your brain on it. So maybe we'll save this for the Great Western Forum pod that we're recording next week. It came and went super quietly that Giannis was open to going to the Knicks, and they didn't have the assets to be able to trade for him, and now
he's a shame.
Yeah, well, I just laughed at it because, like, for how many years have we talked about how that is the Lakers' biggest, like, that's their phobia, right? That's their clinical.
They'd be very sad if a Giannis were available and they didn't have. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, but like, it made me laugh that it happened to the Knicks, but, but like, so you had that. I was surprised that not many people connected these dots, but even if we don't take into account like the change in narrative at one point during the summer that the Lakers that was reported about the Lakers, but it is expected now, according to multiple reports and to the people that I've spoken to, that Giannis is going to expand his list over the course of this season.
You don't say.
And we talked about that first round pick that the Lakers could put on the table for the right player this season if that player becomes available, if the team's good enough, healthy enough, etc. Giannis being potentially available, and even I would go so far as to say likely available after this season, making himself available after this season, that changes the arithmetic there. Have you thought at all about this? Like, has that registered on your radar at all?
Bro, I was talking about this at the beginning of the summer, Giannis to the Lakers, and that's what the Lakers are lining up themselves up, or have been lining themselves up to do. They value this a lot. And that is exactly the calculation, is how good are we right now? If we trade this first round pick at the deadline, say it's for whoever you want, one of those 4 guys, somebody else, they have to make the calculation of like, all right, are we a championship team now? Based on where we are right now, not on paper here in October 17th, but in February with 60 or 55 games behind them, and seeing what the team is, right? Like, is that worth risking being able to get Giannis, right? Because it's going to matter how much Giannis expands his list in the first place. Speaking of, just one fun little side note, there is rivalry between the Lakers front office and the Knicks front office because they're the two of the few agent to GM, right?
Mhm.
So that's Leon Rose and all his people versus Pelinka and all his people. So there's definitely internally within the Lakers a certain amount of like,
Oh, I can only imagine how hard they laughed.
Yeah, like
the Mikal Bridges trade, making it so that the Knicks didn't beat. We would not be having this conversation if they hadn't made the Mikal Bridges trade. He
That's
would be
right.
a Knick. He would be like Giannis would be a Knick right now.
And that's exactly why this other thing that they'll say is, see, this is exactly why we don't trade that first round pick at the trade deadline.
It registered. I've had people tell me that specifically. It was like, you give us a hard time, but just imagine how pissed Knicks fans are right now.
Yeah.
Thinking
imagine if we couldn't
this,
get Luka type thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know. I look, it's to me like we're gonna record the Great Western Forum pod, I believe, on Monday. And one possible format that I was kind of thinking of is like you come up with a storyline that you're paying close attention to. I'll come up with one, and Jovan will come up with one, and mine is Giannis. Mine is like fun. That's the one that I'm paying attention to. Is like how good are the Bucks? How far away from contention are they, even after the Miles Turner thing? And how wide will that list expand to, right? Is it just an East Coast thing? Because I know that his family like moved back to Athens and he wants it to be a shorter flight. So that makes being on the West Coast kind of tricky or whatever. But yeah, like that's the thing I'm paying attention to. And as well as the basketball. I can't wait for tonight. I really, really can't wait for tonight. But Pete, I've held you for longer than I told you I was going to. So I'm going to go ahead and let you out of here. Thank you, everybody. We did get one super comment, so I'll play this really quick. And I believe this one's directed at you, Pete.
Yes. Oh, my God. Kevin, no need. It's so funny. I saw your comment, and I was going to reply to you after I was done. Like, I'm getting a new mic this weekend. Let's pour one out for this microphone. Has been holding it down for about 7-8 years now. We're going into the 10th year of the LFR pod, and I'm just having all sorts of issues with the input. The windscreen is, you got a little piece out of it. You don't even see the other side. That's why I flip it around this way. So it's time. I'm one of those people that like drives my car until like, okay, thank you.
Do you still have your Saturn?
Years of service. I absolutely still have my Saturn. 250,000 miles on it, paid off for the last 10 years.
That's it's what is it? The SL or the SL1?
I don't remember, man. It's like a 2007. It's an old.
Because I had the same Saturn. Mine died. Well, no, like we wound up upgrading at one point, but it like we gave it to my aunt, and my tia said that like it ran for like another 50,000-60,000. It was a good car. Saturn was the only profitable company within General Motors, and they nixed it. It was kind of a bummer.
Well, Kevin, I appreciate your generosity. I will remedy that this weekend. I'm going to have a whole new setup. Was planning on doing that anyway, and we'll see if Anthony passes that money along my way. We'll see.
Well, yeah. Well, not if it's done.
You fucker.
Have a great rest.
They're roasting me in the comments. Abraham Lincoln had that mic before Pete. Fucking, you're not wrong.
Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. Make somebody else's, and shouts to Kevin. This was great.